Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host Elion, and we are here with the brilliant, the highly talented Brandon Torres. Welcome, Brandon.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I had YouTube playing in the background too. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, because you know, but I just paused it.
Yeah,
How you doing today?
yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm by myself. Maybe there's some technical difficulties. I'm Brandon Torres. Been playing guitar since I was 12. Now I'm 35. So it's been a fun journey with it. And, Project Metal Music had me on just to talk about some of the ins and outs of my past with music and the tech that I've used whenever I played as well. And I'm just chilling here now. So whenever he comes back in, that'll be fun to have something about, bounce off of him. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Yes, it's bloody. Sometimes I do hear tech.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did. I was talking and I said, I've been playing since I was 12. I'm 35 now. Um, and throughout my life and career, it's always been around music and well, not music, but creative stuff. So um, I'm fortunate enough to always find myself in those situations to be around creative people that not only that I look up to, but you know, uh, get to work with sometimes, and that's very fun. So you know, it takes dedication though. You got to kind of like wait and make it happen, and dedication is, like I said, it's a big part. So what do you got for us today on the the questions?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, some of the we pretty much said, what type of guitar do you basically use? What's your favorite guitar that you like? See,
Oh, my
like the
favorite guitar
small
that I had
guitar.
was, yeah, my favorite one that I had was the Fender Mustang, but that became increasingly hard to get it fixed, and in the neck broke. I couldn't find another neck that matched it because it was kind of a smaller neck, so you could kind of like uh I don't know, just tear it up on there. It's easy. I mean, well, I don't know. It depends on how the size of the neck that people like. That was my favorite, but I did use thick strings. Um, in the vein of, in the way of like Stevie Ray Vaughan, the fat Stratocaster sound that he had. Um, I like that with some, you know, distortion, some reverb, delay. Uh, I had a fuzz pedal, the wah wah, or the Vox wah wah pedal,
Yeah,
like Jimi Hendrix would use in, Voodoo Child, that
yeah,
sound. And a couple of others like tremolo, phase shifter, and flange, and then would play from a Vox AC30. That's one of my preferred amps. I like that amp. I don't know if you're familiar with the Vox AC30. Uh, it's a very good amp,
yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of people recorded with that one. So I use that. Then right now I'm primarily playing on acoustic right here. This Epiphone Jumbo, and I like that. It's let me show this one. I like it. I use
Ooh,
G chord, but I use with the strings. I like Ernie Ball. That's just the strings I use since I started when I was younger, and I just kept with them as same as the Jim Dunlop Tortex guitar picks, and this one I don't think is Jim Dunlop. Oh, it is Dunlop, but This one's a thicker, heavy one. It's a 2 millimeter guitar pick, so it's kind of thick. I can't even bend it. If you look at, I like thick strings and thick picks. I like to give myself some tension, not tension, but um, something that doesn't give too easy. I like sturdy sounds. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
some of my stuff that I prefer. And then like I said, I have that Ibanez
yeah.
semi hollow body. My first guitar is over here. It's broken still. I mean, it only has two strings on it. It's a Yamaha Pacifica. Let me see. I'll go grab it. Here's this one. I don't even think it works anymore. It's just I have it for an old keepsake. This is my first guitar. It's very heavy. It's solid wood. Um, it's an old one. I know. You know, you've had more esteemed guitarists and musicians on here, but this was my first one, and I want to keep it. It's like my baby. This is the one I got when I was 12. So this is.
Yeah.
I mean, it even has the old strings that are I busted on there. But yeah, so this is a good. That was a good entry level guitar. I mean, I've had the Gibson SG. I've had Les Paul Jr. by Epiphone, Fender Strat. I don't know, Squire Stratocaster. Uh, I like Gibson and Fender, but I've always wanted a Rickenbacker.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Yeah. Once I have heard that there's been quite a few people who've been on who do like sort of like Gibson. Some people like Les Paul. Some people like some people like other types of guitars and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of people. Yeah,
yeah,
there's like you know um, the different brands. I mean, like a PRS would be nice. That'd be cool. Like Santana plays on a PRS. Paul Reed Smith. That'd be fun to have. But I think my dream one would be the Rickenbacker. I just like the way it looks and the sound that I've seen people get out of it, from like Radiohead to even I think I've seen Tom Petty play on one. Tom Petty's great. I know you're like into metal music, but those guys are classics though, right?
oh yeah, yeah. You can't go wrong with Tom Petty or like
Yeah,
Santana or like Jimi Hendrix or um, even Buddy Holly. If
yeah,
you
Buddy
want to go
Holly.
way all the way back to like, or even Bill Haley.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The
I mean, what look?
if you
Well,
want,
Eddie Van Halen, and they're metal. I mean, they were rock and roll, kind of precursor to metal. Van Halen, you know, those guys, all influenced me. I don't do the picking like the tapping that he does. I
yeah,
haven't gotten into that because it's not my style. But as of right now, like I said, I'm more into just playing with an acoustic right now, and it's fun. It teaches you how to uh, like how can I say be more disciplined because you can't cover it up with an effects pedal. And so the first part of my learning when I was playing guitar, I had effects pedals, and I could just cover it up and do distortion and kind of do like kind of punk stuff like, or Nirvana. Or my friend and I used to be in a band and we didn't even have a name. We were just playing. And we would play, that Nirvana, Incubus, System of a Down, things like that. But I realized when I was playing, well, those guys had well, Incubus and System of a Down had great guitar players. But if I would mess up and I had the effects pedals on, you couldn't really tell. It kind of masks it. It's like makeup for, people. Like, oh, okay, I have a pimple here. Put this makeup on, you can't see it, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah,
now with an acoustic, it's like, oh, there's the errors you make are more audible because you can't cover it up with like a pedal. So
yeah,
that's, interesting, a different aspect. So I guess if it's like guitar philosophy,
yeah. Yeah, it's sort of like yeah, it's like you said, the acoustic gives you being more disciplined, being more precise in your playing than
Yeah,
than
yeah.
this.
Well, with a guitar, like an electric guitar that has a longer neck, I mean, you can hit different notes, higher notes. But then with an acoustic that's not a cutaway acoustic, you have to learn how to, like, say if I'm trying to hit a note on my, on any of these strings, there's only two strings on here, but I'm trying to hit a note on here. I can't go that way down on a guitar. Then I got to go like up here on a lower string, and I got to find my way and reposition my hands. So, it makes you more cognitive of what note you're trying to reach. So,
Yeah,
that's, and because like I said, like here, it's not a cutaway. It goes just to here, and then you got to be like this, and it's a little harder. But if you're like, okay,
yeah,
you know, you got to find where those notes land on the neck. So, right. Sorry, my voice is a little raspy. So right now with acoustic, it kind of stretches me to think different about guitar, and then when I translate it into electric guitar, it's like I'm cheating, like I'm playing with cheat codes. It's like, dang, this is fun. This is easier. It's like
yeah,
I guess driving an automatic and a manual, a shift car.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
you like, wow.
When you do play sort of like electric guitar, when you do play the electric guitar, what type of pickups do you prefer using? I know there's several different brands.
But the pickups, it's more. I use the stock ones. And there was this place out here, a store called it. I'm in Houston, Texas. Guitar Stringer, and they were a family-owned guitar place that usually would fix my guitars, but now they're closed. And I just went with whatever I could afford because I was like, in my early 20s, and I was like, oh, But let me see. I think I remember my guitar pickups. Let me look it up. The ones that I've had gotten, because I like double humbuckers, and then the my Fender Mustang was set up with the Seymour Duncan, that one. I like those. I mean, but I'm okay with stock. It's just what you can do with it. I mean, I never had to go live like on a big. I mean, I've played live shows, but I've never been like some arena rocker.
Yeah,
So I've played a couple of venues and clubs, but yeah, Seymour Duncan, double humbuckers. I've always wanted a Fender Jazzmaster with the little soap bar pickups. Though, have you seen that? Yeah,
yeah.
those are that guitar is one of my dream guitars too. Jazzmaster, and then Jaguars. And I like what Kurt Cobain did with his guitar. Did you hear? He made his own guitar before he passed.
I did hear something about. I know several musicians who actually done that.
Hmm.
But I did hear something about Kurt Cobain actually doing that.
Yeah, because he mixed up a Jaguar and a Mustang, and he put pretty much those two together, and Fender made it for him. It was an interesting looking guitar. I think he only got to play with it live a few times before he left us, but that one looks like a fun guitar to have. I mean, I'm a Fender
Yeah,
fan, but at the moment I don't have one, so it's kind of frustrating. But they would put the Seymour Duncans in my guitar though. Sorry, I got off topic, but
yeah.
they would put those, and it was a family. The shop closed down, that the Guitar Stringer, and I haven't found. I mean, there's another one out here called Lone Star Guitar. That one's closed too, and I don't want to go to Guitar Center because they're not really as dedicated to their craft to fixing the guitars. It's just boom. It's like going to McDonald's, you know.
Yeah.
guitar
yeah,
world. I know. I mean,
yeah.
it's helpful. I mean, I can go get cheap strings, but I'd rather support local music shops and things of that nature.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a bit like having like. Do you really want a McDonald's, or do you really want to have like a gourmet burger type of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. So,
So
and
you know
then
what I mean. It's
that's the that's the thing with that. I mean, it's cool that you can go there and check out stuff. I remember I used to go there and play guitar and try different guitars, and they're like, well, are you actually going to buy one?" And then they're, if not, don't play it. I'm just like, okay, well, you know, screw you.
yeah.
But
That just reminded me of Wayne's World.
oh,
When we
Wayne's
used to
World,
go into
yeah, yeah. When
yeah,
no
we would go into
stairway,
the store.
yeah, no stairway, and they point at the sign and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna buy something, but I'm just trying out a different guitar. Right, I want to see what this one sounds like with this amp. I know people
yeah,
like, I like Fender amps, Line 6. I've played on one of those. Uh, and then I used to have a pedal that had like a lot of different effects, much like the Line 6 amps do. But I don't like those built in ones. I like the physical pedal, and I have my settings. And, I would get a marker and mark the sounds that I liked. And then for certain songs me and my friends made, I would I'd put the marker and be like, okay, this is for this one. This is for this one. And it had different colors. So I was always cognizant of that because like sometimes you forget things. I could be rather
yeah,
forgetful. I'm sure there's
yeah. I
a
know
lot
that
of things,
feeling.
even in this interview, I can leave out on accident because we start talking, and you're like, oh, I should have said that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know there's I know musicians prefer certain cabling, especially if you like, say, a bassist or a guitarist, to actually go from the guitar to the to the pedal board, and then from the pedal board over to the amps and cabs and everything. What's your preferred cabling system?
Guitar, pedal board, then the daisy chain between the pedals, but they have to be good amps. I mean, good cables. I believe when I told you I like monster cables, those are pretty good quality. I tend to stick with what I started with whenever it comes to guitar, and then to the amp, and then if we're live, they mic up the amp sometimes, and the cab, and so that's just my basic. It's basic. It's very basic, and but I do like the Vox AC30 amp. I like the sound. I had an orange amp. Those were cool too. They sound really good. And I had a fuzz pedal, and it sounded really good. I was like, dang, this sounds like really like British '60s rock. Like
Mm,
Beatles,
yeah,
and
yeah,
or like Eric Clapton kind of bluesy. You know, smooth sound like Cream. You know, uh, so like I said, I never got the chance to do a bunch of that stuff where it's like super big shows, but I had friends that do like front of house engineering for bands like Sublime and stuff like that here in America. Um, and this other band, the Dirty Heads, and I've hung around them and I've seen them set up for their shows, and I was fascinated, to see the guitar techs and all that stuff. You know, and you're aware that I used to work in the music industry, so I got to see some of them like be backstage for like a Guns N' Roses reunion and see how Axel gets his show prepped, or like, and Slash
yeah,
and stuff like that. So that was very cool and insightful. Some of it was above my head. I was just like, dang, okay, yeah, I'm definitely a video editor, and not a roadie, a guitar tech like that. Those guys,
yeah,
That's a big show. It's like a company at that point when you're that big of a band. They're a company, not more so than a band
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
So
It's I was going to say when bands get to that size, it's not just like say four guys in a van lugging their own equipment about and
yeah, it's like
setting up. You've got like a team of 30, 40 people behind you to actually do it all for you, all
mhm.
for you.
It's like the way I guess it's like how punk rock is, like the punk rock bands, they would just go travel, get a van, like you said, set it up themselves, have to go to the store, buy their strings, string them, change them every other show or something like that. And
Yeah,
I can see when people say, like the passion's gone whenever it gets that big, like the passion is just, it's like, oh, okay, this is more of a obligation at this point, like I heard like what Freddie Mercury said, he lost his passion singing sometimes. Like, I don't know if it was from sickness, but he would lose passion, right?
yeah, yeah. I sort of like heard that back in like the early to mid '80s,
Hmm.
where he got sort of like I wouldn't say tired as much, but he got sort of like tired of playing the same style of music, i.e. rock,
Yeah.
and he wanted to branch out to into other styles. Because I know he did like a lot of work with Giorgio Moroder
I don't
of
know who that is.
sort
It's cool.
because I know Giorgio Moroder he obviously did he produced a lot of Donna Summer stuff,
Oh, Donna
but he
Summer's
also
okay.
yeah because yeah you got like Hot Stuff and Alfie Love that was Giorgio Moroder produced stuff, but he
So was
also
he trying
sorry.
sorry, was he trying to do more pop music then, if he's working with those kind of producers?
Yeah, yeah, because I know Giorgio Moroder was like starting to get into like doing film scores,
Oh, okay, cool.
and the one film that stood out for me back in I think it was about what 83, 84. It was it was a movie called Metropolis, which was
Metropolis.
a 1927 German film
Okay.
um, where they lost quite a bit of footage of the film because it was about
Hmm.
a 3 hour film. It was one of the most expensive films of the time. I think it was about $4 million at the time when it was
Wow,
first
in
produced
20s? In the
in
20s?
1927.
Oh, dang, that's expensive for that time. Yeah.
Yeah,
No wonder.
and yeah, and when they found quite a bit of the footage, because it was like it was a silent film period. The I can't remember who, but they asked Giorgio Moroder to write a bit of music
Hmm.
for the film to like to do a sound over to it.
Hmm.
And one of the songs was written for Freddie Mercury for the actual soundtrack.
Hmm. And
So he sort of like went from like it was like sort of like expanding his musical genre to a wider genre.
yeah.
And if you ever noticed, if you ever watch Metropolis and the videos to Queen's Radio Gaga,
Oh, I
um,
do.
the I Want to Break Free, they
Hmm.
take scenes from Metropolis
Oh, that's
because
cool.
I think it's Radio Gaga where
Hmm.
they're sitting in a plane biplane and they're
Hmm.
flying around
Yeah.
like before. That's actually from Metropolis. The
Oh, okay,
film
that's
Metropolis.
interesting. I didn't know that. That's a cool little tidbit, a fun fact.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he could have gone the way, if things didn't end up like him, the way Phil Collins ended up doing it. You know, he was with Genesis, Peter Gabriel, and all them, but then he ended up
Yeah.
doing music stuff for movies. I'm sure that's what Freddie Mercury could have turned into because he was a bit cinematic in his vocals, or you know, just
Oh yeah. Yeah.
he had a lot more to it than just rock and roll.
Yeah. 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 Take a look at. It was for the Barcelona games,
Mm,
Olympic Games. He sang Barcelona with, and I hope I pronounce the lady's name, Montserrat Cabaret. I think that's how you pronounce her name. He did sang. She sang in, I believe it's Spanish. He sang in English. The
okay.
song Barcelona. So
Okay.
he went to sort of like the operatic style
Yeah,
of
operatic.
things.
That's the word. Yeah,
So
that's yeah, that was that. And he could have gone a lot further. So, my question for you too is like, what's your favorite? Some of your favorite metal bands, like that you're like at least a top three if you can, or a five.
oh god, now you're asking. Now you're
It's
asking. Well,
hard,
the
huh?
first, the first, the first band, I would say, basically my number one, without a doubt, straight off, Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Okay, cool. Yeah,
That's
that's a
that's
classic.
without a doubt. That's without a doubt, Iron
Mhm.
Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Followed closely by Motorhead.
Ah, those those two are good. I've worked on promos for Iron Maiden, Judas. Well, not Judas Priest and Motorhead. Um, and it was Lemmy's last tour before he passed. I did that tour, the promo. Man, it was special to have be like, oh, I was able to work on Motorhead stuff before he
Yeah,
left. And then the
yeah.
other ones,
To the point I've got like Motorhead tattooed there.
oh,
Yeah,
nice,
it's and I've got Iron Maiden on my shoulder as well.
oh, nice. And then what's the other ones?
Um, the third one will be Within Temptation.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that
The
one, but gotta check
they're
it out.
from they're from the Netherlands.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
uh, Brilliant symphonic metal band from the, like I said, from the Netherlands. Then the fourth one. Now now these change. Now these are sort of like change on of the mood. Recently, I've been getting into the Belgian band Galia,
Okay, hell yeah.
and then they are absolutely brilliant. There's one song I just can't stop listening to, and that's "Return of Time." Now that
Return of
is
Time.
awesome. The female singer is absolutely brilliant. She
Oh,
just you got to listen to it. You got to listen to the band
yeah.
to actually
Yeah. After
understand what I mean.
afterwards, you have to send me a playlist or some of the songs that that
Yeah.
you're.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Then the fifth band, I would say. Now this is prior to Flo Johnson going into Nightwish.
Okay.
There's two bands that she did. Um, the
I think
first
I've heard of
band,
Nightwish. I think I could be mistaken, but I
uh,
think I've heard of Nightwish.
you must have heard of sort of like the Siren, Planet Hell. There's like from the Once album with uh, sure, Taria, the tall lady. She
Hmm.
was an operatic singer. Then transferred over to. Then she left, and then got with Anita Olsen, and then she left, and then Claude Johnson came in as the female singer. There's two, like I said, there's two bands prior for Flo Jansen going into Nightwish. Her first band, her first proper band when she was 16, was After Forever.
Okay.
That they, and then after that, she started her own band up called Revamp.
Oh,
So
sounds like an
that
active
was
musician. It changed a lot of
Oh
bands.
yeah, she's been in a lot of. She's been like obviously she's been in three main bands, but also been guest vocaling with other bands as well, like Epica and um, Aeon and like other musicians as well. So
Oh, so,
yeah, I did manage to see Flo Johnson live
oh, nice.
about 11 years ago with Revamp. This is about a year. This is about a year before she went into like Nightwish.
Hmm.
So I
Oh,
managed to get to see her live.
nice. Yeah, she sounds like she had a crazy career. Like
Oh
it's
yes,
just evolved and moved around and things like that. Like I'm familiar more with like, well, my first concert was Tool, as you I think you heard me mention. That was my first
yeah,
concert when I was 12, when I started playing guitar. And so, of course, I wanted to learn their songs. Started learning their songs, and then I'm out here in Texas. There's that band. I know you're aware of Pantera, Dimebag Darrell, all of them.
yeah. Seen them
Insane.
live as well.
That's yeah. Well, shoot, I wish I did. You know. Um, and then I've listened to like Sepultura and things like that. And then some friends try to put me on a Dragon Force, that band that they're pretty fast. Like it's just I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to say the wrong name for it, the genre
Power,
because they're
yeah,
like
power
speed metal.
metal.
Yeah, but it's yeah, just to blanket statement it. Yeah, that metal band Dragon Force. Some of it I can't get into. It's like listening to like Steve Vai or something. Like, okay, it's cool. You can play really well, but you're not saying anything to me. You know, some of those people like Steve
Yeah,
Vai. It's like, all right, yeah, but what's I like to have the message in the music as well. I mean, I guess I
yeah,
like to have my cake and eat it too when it comes to that, you know. But
yeah,
you know, of course, Metallica's always been there. You know, they're good, but like I said, it's like McDonald's at this point, you know. And I know James Hetfield has his health issues. I think they had to postpone their tour or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
It's something to do with COVID or something.
oh,
From what I've
yeah.
heard. From what I've heard, but that's just what I've heard.
Hmm.
I know he's had a couple of health scares over
Yeah,
the
and
last couple of months.
he's been to rehab before. I don't know if
Yeah,
what damages that whatever he's done in the past caused to his body. I know we don't talk about this here. I mean, those things, but it's always fun to have a conversation, right?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, I'm just glad that you have me on, and I'd like to be back always. I'm not trying to end the conversation. I'm just saying
yeah,
thanks right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, no worries. You're more than welcome. More than welcome to come back on, whether it be on the podcast, whether it be another interview, or do another TikTok type of thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah. So
the tech talk. I mean, I can do all that, and it's fun, but like we were talking earlier about how I learned and especially like recording audio. It was mostly Pro Tools
yeah,
and using Shure microphones. Um, like I said, the person who taught me was the audio engineer for Bad Brains, their first album. And then I remember when I was sitting in there in the studio learning from him, he had a couple gold records, but the one that I remember only is it was an 80s dance song called Let the Music Play by Shannon.
yeah,
80s club song. I don't know if you know that
yeah,
one.
yeah. I do. Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah, he had the gold album on the wall, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" Because I remember hearing that song when I was little, growing up, and then I was like, "Oh, you worked on that?" He's like, "Yeah," and then it was good to learn under his name was Wayne Vulcan, or is Wayne Vulcan, and it was good to learn under his tutelage. But there was a lot of times where he would just have me bring my guitar in and lay down tracks for like school. I went to film school, so he would have me lay down tracks for like other student films and make music and learn score how to score or play on the keyboard and things like that. And I was like, he was kind of teaching me more on the creative side than the technical side. So
Yeah, yeah,
just I'm like, okay, just set me up with what you think I need, and let's get it done. That was fun. That was a cool way to learn.
yeah. Oh
Maybe he
yeah,
could.
yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say that sometimes it's actually better. Sometimes you're better actually learning on the job. If you know what I mean, it's sort of like learning as you go. Actually,
Yeah.
physically, whilst physically doing it, instead
Hmm.
of actually being in the classroom and actually learning that way.
Yeah.
That's learning in the classrooms. All good, but when you get out into what I'll call the real world,
Hmm.
sometimes you're thinking, how do I do this? How do you get this knowledge from the classroom and transfer it
The
over to
hands, yeah, the
the
hands-on,
sometimes yeah. I
and
know there's a lot of I know there's a lot of people out there who actually learn better actually doing it. If you know what I mean.
oh yeah, no. Trust me, I was a terrible editor, terrible motion graphics person. Whenever I first got out of school, I wasn't terrible, but I was just like, oh, it's not as good. And then I got into more jobs and having to work and learn and keep up and compete. And it's like, and then you get better. It just like snaps. And that's what I
Yeah,
did. I remember the basics. Like whenever I was at that job that was in the music industry, I was on the video side. We had guys were on the audio side and they had their soundboards and working with Pro Tools. And they were former DJs for stations, and this job was a better paying job because radio you got to be there for just a few hours, and you don't get to do what you like and experiment sometimes if you're working for a radio station, um, unless it's independent radio. And so whenever I would go in their rooms, because we'd have to collaborate and go back and forth and work on these music tracks like for bands like that we all know and love, and it was 30 seconds of usually a 30-second video, but it had like three songs or four songs from the band, so they had to mix it. And I would be in there watching them doing that, and some of that stuff would come back to me. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember it, and then also having to edit their, on my side when they gave it to me to edit the audio or make an adjustment. But they were all good guys. They're all great. So I didn't want to step on their work, but it was interesting to see that process because they would, do the levels and, show me about the frequencies and the equalizer, um, the levels, like, one guy showed me like if you mix in the equalizer, if you open it up and you bring down the mid frequencies, I guess that's what they call it. And, then you put your vocals in there and boost the mids on the vocals, like for a voiceover or something. It creates like a little pocket, so it just fits in there, and it doesn't sound all muddied up or like the audio sounds good. So since then, when I learned that, I was like, oh, that's a cool trick. And when I do audio work or like on an edit and there's music, I always mess with those things too, like the levels of the equalizer. So it comes in
yeah,
handy. You're like little
yeah.
tricks you pick up along the way.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. Sometimes you don't realize. It could be like a conversation with somebody, or you actually see a little snippet of a video, and you think that's a good idea. That I might try that and try it out, and it
Mhm.
just works.
Oh yeah, no, and then you just keep it in your back pocket for like a rainy day. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll use this when I have to. And
Oh yeah. yeah,
there's a lot of stuff like that with video editing for me too. Like, I was a post production supervisor at this company, and the young editors under me, not young, they're around my age too, but I just had more experience. I would like give them tips and tricks, and they'd be like, "I never knew that. This like makes it a big difference." And I'm like, "Yeah, just trying to be a good teacher because I had good teachers, you know." And
yeah,
I could, but I'm not the best teacher. I'm just like, "Hey, just do this instead of this, okay? Trust me." And they're like, "Oh, that changed it." Yeah. That
yeah,
same way with guitar. I'm not the most technical guitar player, but I like to have fun, and I know my way around guitar neck. So it's just, am I a shredder? No, I'm not a shredder. I'm more of like a riff person, and then also I like blues. Growing up from the South here in Texas, blues is a big thing. I mean, it's not a big thing for everybody, but it's big to me. Got Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, guys like Robert Johnson. I mean, even though they're not from here, I like the way the guitar player Robbie Krieger from The Doors, that kind of stuff too. The Doors, I'm a big fan of, and Muddy Waters and things like that. But those are like old school legends.
yeah, yeah.
Also, the Rolling Stones was good. I don't know if you're more Stones or Beatles. I like both, but
I
um,
prefer the Stones.
I like the Stones too. I mean, I like John Lennon. Well, George Harrison was a great guitar player too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and that was, but the Stones, yeah, that's more my style.
yeah. Me personally, I rather if it was like if it was a proper full on fist fight, who would you pick on you to be on your side? I would say definitely the Stones.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
would say
out of the band,
definitely
yeah, the Beatles would get beat
out
up by
of the
them.
band. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say definitely the Stones.
yeah.
But I've never really been a fan of the Beatles.
No, no,
I know it's controversial and everything, being the one of the biggest bands in the world and everything, but I've never really liked them, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, I do like some of the songs, but I've just never
yeah. I
been a
like some
big
of
fan
some.
of them.
Yeah, I don't know their whole catalog. I think I know more Rolling Stone songs than
Yeah,
Beatles, but the ones of the Beatles that I like, I do like. You know, but you know, I know more about Led Zeppelin than the Beatles. So
yeah,
or
yeah,
I've had a couple Pink Floyd albums and things like that. I like some of this old, the older stuff from the '70s. Those bands were pretty cool to listen to. Like the audio was very well done.
yeah, yeah. Same. With me, I grew up in the '70s and '80s. Yeah, because I was born in the early '70s,
Hmm.
and without there's always been like sort of like music in where it's always been music being played in the house.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
Like,
and I've listened to because my parents grew up in the basic in the 50s, and where rock and roll basically all started really
yeah.
took off.
Hmm.
Um,
Elvis,
there you go,
Buddy
like
Guy.
Tina Turner, you got like Elvis, Bill
Hmm.
Haley, you got like Buddy Holly and stuff like
Chuck,
people like
Chuck
that.
Berry.
Yeah, Little Richard and everybody
Hmm.
in the 1950s, and that's what I basically grew up on. With like listening to like with all that with all those greats and greats and everybody. Then sort of like that's where my love of rock and metal come into
Hmm.
to what I'm doing now.
Oh, that's cool.
Talking to musicians and doing a radio show and doing interviews and stuff like that. It's just like it all stemmed from what I was listening to in in the 1970s. In the 1970s, so
Yeah, that's awesome.
so
Did you like the Clash and stuff like that back then? Since they were started in the '70s, right?
yeah, well, basically, from what I like, basically the first real genre that I actually sat in and actually listened to was punk.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the XTC, the Clash, the Sex Pistols. You've
Buzzcocks.
got the Buzzcocks, the Damned. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
The Damned was a punk band
Okay.
because they were the first band to actually release a punk single
Mm-hmm.
in August 1976 in the UK.
Oh, cool. And did you ever like
Yeah.
get to Joy Division and stuff like that too? Like
Sorry.
post Joy Division?
Oh
You know,
yeah,
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 Ian Curtis and stuff like that. Yeah, I like that band.
yeah, yeah. When when sort of like punk sort of like imploded in about
Hmm.
1979, round about 1979. Sort of like I got started going to like the sort of like new romantics type of stuff because
Hmm.
I got like the Tube Army, a lot of like Duran Duran and Human League,
Oh, Human
Joy
League.
Division was starting to come out, but
Okay.
also what started to come out was like the goth as well because a lot of the bands, punk bands, sort of like they said, "Oh, punk's finished. What we're going to do?" So some of them started to like cross over
Hmm.
to like doing goth. Like you got like the Damned
Yeah.
crossed over from doing punk over to doing goth. Same with Susie and the Banshee sort of like sort of like still punk. Yeah, so it was like from 77, 78, going up to like the mid 80s. It was like a fun time for like a lot of music.
And then like with that, again, there was new wave and everything too, right? So that was a
Yeah.
different era. I mean,
Oh yeah,
well, in America we had hair metal. We had like the Poison and She's My
yeah,
Chair Warrant, and I wasn't really into that. I'm more into like if I was, I'd be more into the English side, like The Cure. I like some of that stuff. Also, not only The Cure, but I just drew a blank on the name of the band. I mean, well, I like the Pixies and all that stuff too. That's American, but The Cure. Well, yeah, sorry, I drew a blank on this band, but the Smiths. I like some of their stuff, but Morrissey is kind of a tool bag. It seems like, right? I don't know.
yeah.
He's
He
kind of
is.
yeah, prick.
Yeah, yeah,
They were
yeah.
good though.
He would.
Johnny Mars is a great guitar player. I like him.
Yeah,
He's a great, yeah. I like the guitar player.
yeah, yeah. They're still fighting them too.
Oh
Morrissey
yeah.
and Morrissey and
Who's
even Morris. Sorry.
I was gonna say who has a worse feud, him and Johnny Mars, or Noel and Liam Gallagher? Because they can't see eye to eye either.
Well, with the Gallagher brothers, if you put them in the same room, they end up fighting. Actually, end up in a full on fist fight.
Yeah, that's true. That they can't stand each other. I think they did a couple reunion shows, right? But it's just
Yeah,
like that was, and it's like that band, the Libertines, with Pete Doherty and Carl Barat. I don't know if you know about that, the Libertines.
yeah,
They used to fight,
yeah.
but now they're back together. But there was a long feud. What is it with English bands and their feuds with each other?
Uh, pass. Seriously, pass. Yeah, I'm sure. I think the English are sort of like
Is it
speaking as
Pride?
the pride,
Yeah.
sort of like
Okay.
sometimes it. we do hold grudges a long time type of thing.
Yeah, because even the Beatles had grudges with each other until they passed, and you
Yeah,
know, like George and
yeah,
John.
yeah,
So it's interesting on those kind of feuds and like stuff like that. I mean, I know Pantera was broken up whenever that happened in Dimebag out here in Texas.
yeah.
But you know, they seem to get up. They seem to get over it. But hopefully, for the sake of uh, Oasis, I know they make good music. It's not my cup of tea per se, but I like I like some of their songs, and they were a great band for the culture in the '90s for rock
Yeah.
music. Did you like System of a Down and things like that though too when you first heard like some of the American new metal?
Uh, System of Down is, I believe, Serbian. I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I know.
Armenian.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was over that way. Well, I knew it was over like the Baltic,
Hmm.
yeah, Baltic. I did. I do like System of a Down. Um, New metal.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, the reason why I got into my love of guitar pedals, effects pedals, was because of Incubus. That guitar player, I think he taught music or something. I'm not sure at Harvard. Or he took a class and got his master's or something. He was with a prestigious university, involved in some way, either by taking class or teaching it, and in music theory. And he's very good. I mean, he's not like the best guitar player in the world, but he uses all his pedals and he makes great. He writes great songs and like riffs. Like if you hear it as a guitar player, like oh damn, that's pretty creative. I wouldn't even think to incorporate some kind of sitar or Japanese sounding, you know, effect and pinch harmonics and things like that. So that's cool. I like when people get inventive with their music. But I also like heavy stuff too. Then when they're just rocking out. So like
yeah,
Tool. So yeah.
yeah. It's who we should. I was going to say, out of all the bands, which band was the most fun to see live?
For me, um, it's it's this band. It's a punk band. I just had fun seeing them. There's a couple, but the one that I actually got included in a mosh pit is this band called. It's a punk band, I think, and they're called Hardcore Poon. Hardcore Poon. Not there's no R in it, but it was an all female band, and it was just fun to see females just tear it up and scream and have people in the crowd go crazy and you know push and bump each
Yeah,
other. That was one of
yeah,
my most fun ones. And then there's this other band that's disbanded now because the singer got canceled. They're called the Orwells. That was a fun crowd and show to be at. I mean, because I've seen the big ones. I've seen, like I said, Guns N' Roses, and I've seen Journey, all that stuff. But those are just like, okay, it's like going to Walmart, you know.
yeah,
So I've heard those songs a million times. I can live my life without hearing another Journey song, and I'm fine with that. But the other stuff, like it's new or newer and underground, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like this. I can. I like the crowd and the experience of the band when they're feeling it. So some of the better ones that I've been to is like lesser known bands. I mean, I love Kings of Leon and things like that too. They're great. But I've seen Incubus twice, Sublime. But yeah, the little smaller punk rock stuff I like. It's heavier. It's more intimate. You're just like, okay, I'm here. This is fun. Somebody spilled beer on
yeah,
me. Oh, but I will say, One of my favorites, though, of a bigger band is called TV on the Radio, and they're a band from Brooklyn. And I think you might have heard me say this before because I was in Los Angeles at the Wilton Theater watching them, and it's kind of a crazy that band's cool. Like they're cool guys. Like if you see them, you're like, oh dang, wouldn't expect that sound. And I was walking down the aisle to go get a beer myself, and I bump into the guitar player from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and they're another New York band. He spills his beer on me, and he was like, "Oh shit." He thought I was gonna. Oh, excuse my language. Sorry. he thought
That's
I
all
was gonna.
right.
He thought I was gonna recognize him and call him out, and I just kept on walking. And then when I get into the lobby or the entrance area where people were walking around, nobody's around him. But I noticed Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine, and I go up to him and I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" And then we're talking because I was like, "I appreciate all the music you did, with Rage." And as we're talking, Prince walks in, and people just spread out. It's like, "Oh, Prince!" And then he goes up to Zach and shakes his hand and gives him a hug. And I'm standing next to Zach, and Prince just looks at me and just goes, and I'm just like, "That's the only time I was ever really starstruck, man. Like it's Prince, Wouldn't you be?"
Yeah. Oh
I'd be
yeah.
like, "Oh." So that's one of my favorite moments. And then another thing closely related to Zach De La Rocha and Rage Against the Machine is when I saw uh, Audio Slave, and there's a part in their show when they were playing. Chris Cornell would play solo acoustic while they would go backstage, and he was playing Black Hole Sun, and a shooting star. No kidding, just went across the sky above it because I was at a pavilion, so it was outdoors, and I was just like, okay, this can't get any cooler. So there were some moments like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a couple of moments with their bands as well. It's
Hmm.
like seeing um, Joe Elliott from Def Leppard
Oh, okay.
uh, back in 2001,
Mm-hmm.
where the Almighty got back together to do a reunion tour type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine and partners asked us to go um, to the cockpit in Leeds, in Yorkshire, because he wanted us to go with him because he was a wheelchair user, and he wanted us to go with him because he was because he didn't know the area, and they had stairs going up to get in, and he wanted me there to like help him to get up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So so we got in early because obviously he was a wheelchair user, and we sort of like managed to see Joe Elliott
Yep.
wanting to get a beer at the bar and everything, and it was just like he sort of like nodded and saying to say hello and everything because we saw him and he nodded and everything because the Almighty basically sent down their PR girl to talk to him because
Oh, that's cool. For PR, yeah.
and because he used to, the friend was touring around with him to see
Mm-hmm.
each show, and obviously they noticed him, so they sent down the PR girl to actually to give him like certain merchandise and everything, just to say thank you for coming around, to coming to actually like touring around with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good from the Almighty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then we sort of like got to meet Steve Rothery and Steve Hogarth from the band Marillion. I don't know if you know Marillion.
Mm-mm. I think I've heard the name, but I just haven't checked out the music. I think.
Yeah, they were pretty big in the early to mid '80s with the singer called Fish, where they had they're probably like the biggest hit was Kaylee.
Okay. Fish, like the hippie group, the band, or they had a singer named
Uh,
Fish.
they had the singer named Fish.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually real name. His real name is Doric
Oh, okay.
Doric
Because I was
Dick.
thinking about the hippie band Fish, the Phish.
No, it's fish as in the fish as in like one in the sea.
Okay.
Sort of like sort of like got to sort of like me because he was a couple of people away from us. Steve Rothery and Steve Hogarth from Meridian. That was seen them a good few times. Them another band that I had an amazing time with was a band from Gloucester in England called Incubus Succubus.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Because I've looked up Incubus before, and then that I've seen that band pop up as well.
yeah, I've got to meet them 3 times,
Oh, nice.
and got to speak to Candia and Tony from the band a few times, and they are such lovely people. They are such lovely people. Um, they made time for
Mhm.
everybody
Oh, that's cool.
to
That's nice.
actually go and talk to and everything. And
Hmm.
one gig I was at, I was with a couple of friends, and Candia, actually took time and actually spoke to my uh, the, one of the like basically the two friends I was with who were married, and she took time and actually spoke to my friend, and actually, I think she spent about 10 minutes talking to her, and actually sat down and listened to her, yeah, because she had a few health problems,
Oh, dang.
and she made time. She
So she
made
was
time
like,
to actually.
she was personable then, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
That's
oh
cool.
yeah. She like I said, she was like I said, lovely
I'm about
people.
to I, thank you for having me on. I'm about to get going because I got some other
Yeah.
things to do. But I wanted to ask, who's your favorite metal singer? Because I have, or who you think's the best? Because I have an idea of one that's pretty good.
Without a shadow of doubt, Bruce Dickinson.
Oh, okay. See, I like Dio.
Yeah, I was going to say Dio.
Yeah,
That was it.
that's
That would have been my that would have been my next
yeah,
choice.
yeah. So we're almost on the same path, I guess.
Yeah, especially for the male metal singers.
Yeah.
Now, if it was like the female on the female side of things,
Hmm.
there's like several. There's several female singers
Yeah, I'm
that
sure. I
I
gotta,
admire.
like I said, you have to send me a list of some good
Oh yeah,
metal music to jam out to. So, but I thank you
oh
for
yeah,
having me, man. And I'm sorry for,
yeah,
well, we talked for like an hour. That's a good amount of
yeah,
time. Huh? So, thanks for making time in your day to talk to me, and chit chat.
yeah. My pleasure, Dave. My pleasure, Dave.
Okay.
And you're more than welcome to get to come back on the shows if you want to come back on.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll reach out. We'll be in touch. We see each other in circles. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Much love.
So
And, huh?
I was going to say that much love and everything, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Peace.
Catch
Peace, love, chicken grease. Bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was the brilliant Brandon Torres. So, yeah, um, in round about 90, like just under 2 hours' time, I will be talking to Lakota Stafford from the band Scorch. So, yeah, so stay tuned. In around about at 9 p.m. UK time, that'll be 4 p.m. East Coast time. I will be going over there, going live with their Lakota Stafford. So until then, catch you all later.